Weeks ago, I did a video about solutions for campaign fundraising. That video was just about direct contributions to candidates. I chose not to take on Citizens United. Until now. Citizens United was a Supreme Court decision that opened the door for billions of dollars to flow into politics through PACs and super PACs. And while it's common knowledge that this decision has infected American elections, many people don't remember what Citizens United directly overturned. This legislation is more commonly known as the McCain-Feingold Act. This was a bill that was passed by Democrats and Republicans while Republicans controlled both chambers of Congress. The bill was signed into law by George W. Bush in 2002. So you'd think a bipartisan law signed by a Republican president would see favor at a court that was considered right of center, right? The 5-4 ruling on Citizens United, with Justice Anthony Kennedy as the swing vote, gutted several key aspects of the McCain-Feingold Act, specifically when it concerned corporate spending on political candidates. This decision is what allowed Elon Musk to spend more than $250 million to buy Donald Trump's second election victory. This decision spit on the Constitution and also gave us two new phrases in the American lexicon. Corporations are people, money is speech. For all the talk about the freedom of the First Amendment, there are laws limiting what people can say. Knowingly making false public statements about someone is illegal because of slander and libel laws. Making direct threats of physical violence to people, especially elected officials, is also not protected under the First Amendment. Americans have a constitutional right to be critical of political candidates, and people are free to publicly disagree with each other regarding who they support politically. But it's clearly not fair for a few people who have the most money to have power and control over our democratic elections. Despite what the Supreme Court says, it's also unconstitutional. The founders' heads would have exploded at the idea of a small group of ultra-rich people having unchecked power over who gets elected in a country of 335 million people. The Constitution makes it clear that Congress is in charge of America's money. Congress controls taxes. Congress decides how federal funds are spent. And most importantly, Congress has the power to regulate commerce. They've used that power to pass labor protection laws and set a federal minimum wage. When corporations spend American dollars, that is not speech. That is commerce. Therefore, Congress clearly has the authority to set rules and limits on election spending. I mentioned in my campaign fundraising video that a number of Democrats don't actually want to address Citizens United because they exploit the system just like Republicans do. And we are seeing that play out in California's 48th district. A report in the Times of San Diego details the large sums of money boosting Amar Campa-Najjar, and they are coming from super PACs led by just a handful of rich donors. The problem is that if you go through several of his posts or speeches or interviews, he will talk about ending Citizens United. Seems kind of weird to talk about ending a system that you benefit from. To add insult to injury, he does the typical politician thing where he talks about a problem without explaining to voters how he plans to actually solve the problem. The Supreme Court is now much more conservative and partisan than the court that made the Citizens United decision. You think if Democrats pass a new law overturning Citizens United, that the Sinister Six is going to let that new law stand? No! Any law created by Democrats will be struck down because they can and will cite Citizens United as precedent. And as we have learned from the Dobbs decision, precedent only matters if the Supreme Court says it matters. And by the way, because there is no limit to political spending, the Federalist Society is able to spend millions of dollars lobbying senators to confirm partisan judges like Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. I did another video that explains the constitutional authority that Congress has to get rid of this entire Supreme Court and start over with a new, improved, and expanded court. America's democracy is now a toxic and corrupt system because of Citizens United. The only way to truly fix the system is to get a new Supreme Court. And if Americans really want this system fixed, then they need to stop voting for opportunistic politicians and vote for people who actually have the intention and the plan to fix the system. Keep your eyes open.